Okay. So, yeah, good evening. Thank you for joining me. Start laying on your back. So any comfortable position that feels right for you today. We're going to take it nice and gentle, and the end of a week. So if your lower back isn't great, then I would advise you to just keep your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. And then maybe take the feet to mat distance and let the knees knock together. And then the arms either out by the side with the palms up, or you can just bring the hands onto the body if that feels better. If the legs want to extend, just take them a little wider than sort of mat distance apart so that the hips can open nicely. Okay, so just settling onto your mat. Either soft gaze up at the ceiling, or you can close your eyes now. I want you to start by taking a few deep inhales and exhales. Breathing in and out through the nostrils or mouth, whichever feels better for you today. So just inhaling in and exhaling out. Make each breath a bit longer than the one before it. And then just check in with the body, and I want you to take up as much space on the mat as you can. So maybe just wiggle the hips, give the shoulders a little release down. So as much of the shoulder blades down on the mat, as much of the hips, just relax, release them down. And then if you can, try and allow all of the lower spine to be in contact with the mat as well. So we don't want to be arching at all. Try and push, so the belly button, push it down towards your spine so that we can connect with the full length of the spine into the mat. Good. Maybe rock the head from side to side as well. Just see how the neck, the shoulders are feeling. Let the head just stop and rest wherever it feels comfortable. We don't necessarily always have to be looking upwards. See if we're holding tension in the fingers, in the toes. We can often find that we're kind of making a fist with the hands when we don't need to. And then also an area of tension that's common for all of us is the jaw. So relax the jaw, smooth the forehead so the cheeks are soft. Even the tongue is relaxed within the mouth. So your tongue should rest lightly on the back of the top teeth. And then continue with that breath, inhaling, filling up and exhaling. So if we can change the breath to nostril breathing. And as you inhale, I want you to try to very slightly constrict the flow of breath in the back of the throat, and it will make you be able to hear your breath. So it's what we call the ocean breath. So slight constriction of the breath at the back of the throat. This is called the Ujjayi breath that we use quite a lot in yoga, and it's a good way of generating heat within the body. It's a good way of working with your breath and really sort of connecting that breath and movement pattern. So at any point during the practice, if you can connect in with this breath, do so. If you can use it for the entire practice, that would be amazing. But we often forget when we're going into postures. So you should be able to hear your inhale and exhale. As I say, it's called the ocean breath. It's a bit like the Darth Vader breath as well sometimes. And before we start moving, I just invite you to set an intention for your practice today. So what brought you to your mat this evening? Set an intention or a dedication. And just visualize that intention or dedication at the front of your mind. If it's a person, just bring a picture up. If it's a feeling, imagine yourself feeling that way. All right, and then start making some small movements with your fingers and your toes. Just wiggling the fingers, just moving the toes slightly. And then bring the legs together, extend them if they're not already. Take the arms up and over the head, take a full body stretch. And reach towards the back edge of the mat, point the toes towards the front edge of the mat. So extend and reach. And then as you exhale, bring your knees into your chest and give yourself a little hug. Have a rock from side to side. And then we're going to place the feet flat on the floor about hip distance apart. So the heels are coming up towards the bottom. So you may be able to touch the back of your heels with your middle fingers, with the arms down by your sides. So keeping the arms down by the sides, we're going to tilt the pelvis and slowly lift the hips up and away from the mat to come into a bridge position. So keep your head looking up towards the ceiling. So you should feel some activation into your glutes here. So you can have a little prod of your glutes and just see if they're working. We want to have the core nice and active and breathing into the chest space. So if we keep the core nice and active, it will help to protect the lower back. And then as you exhale, slowly roll the spine back down. So it's down to the mat. So it's really small movements. And then inhale, tilt the pelvis again, push the floor away with your feet and lift the hips up. And then exhale, slowly lower the hips back down to the mat. Good. And again, tilt the pelvis, inhale, push into the floor, lift the hips up high. Exhale, slowly lower those hips back down again. Lovely. And again, tilt the pelvis, start lifting the hips. At the same time, take the arms up and over your head to the floor behind you. Exhale, lower the hips down, bring the arms back down by your sides. With 2 more like that. So inhale, tilt the pelvis, lift the hips up, take the arms up and overhead. Exhale, slowly lower, bring the arms down, bring the hips down. We do 1 more. So inhale, tilt, lift up, take those arms up and over your head. Good, keep the arms where they are, slowly bring the hips back down to the floor. And then just release, bring your knees into your chest. Now give them a hug again and just have another rock from side to side. Keep the knees into the chest. Now see if you can glue your knees and your ankles together. Take your arms into a crucifix. And then slowly lower the knees down to the left side. So we're going into a spinal twist. So you want your knees at least at the same level as your hips here. And then let's turn the head to look in the opposite direction. So trying to keep the knees and ankles together if we can. And you should feel a lovely twist coming through the side of the body. Keep both of your shoulders pinned to the mat. Good, and then inhale, let's raise the knees back to center. And let's take them over to the other side. So slowly lowering them down. Turn your head to look in the opposite direction to your knees. Just breathing into the rib cage that's facing up towards the ceiling to really just open up that twist. Lovely. And then bring your knees back to center. Take hold behind the back of the thighs. Let's extend the legs and flex and point the feet. You can rotate the ankles here as well. Just getting some movement into the ankle joints. Generally releasing a few clicks. Take your hands inside the legs and take them out wide. So try and lead with your heels. Okay, and take that inner thigh stretch, so into a straddle position. So only going as far as feels comfortable. Again, you can move the feet around if you want to. The knees don't have to be, legs don't have to be super straight. They can be slightly bent if it's too much for the legs. And then inhale, let's bring those legs back together. We're going to keep hold of the left leg as we extend the right leg down to the floor. Now you can have the leg, the right leg, you can have it extended or you can bend and place the foot on the floor. We're just going to hold behind the back of the left thigh and start working into that hamstring. So hold the back of the thigh, or you can take your hands up onto the back of the calf muscle. We're going to try and persuade that leg to come a little bit closer towards us. If you feel the leg start shaking, just back off a little bit. Take a big deep breath in. And then as you exhale, start pulling it a little bit closer. So choose whether that right leg is extended or bent, and just persuade that left leg to come in. So we get a nice stretch coming through the back of the hamstrings into the glutes. Flex your foot as well. So push your heel up towards the ceiling, and that'll add a little extra dimension to the stretch as well. So pull it in nice and high, as close as we can. And then just bend it and release it down to the floor. Let's change onto the other side. So bringing that right leg in, take hold behind the back of the thigh. Remember, the left leg can be bent or straight, it's up to you. But right leg up to the ceiling, pushing your heel up there. And then if you want to, you can take your hands further up onto the calf muscle. but persuade that leg to come a little bit closer. Make sure that you're still relaxed through the head, the neck, the shoulders. Maybe we're still working on that ujjayi breath as well, so restricting the breath flow into the back of the throat. So giving that leg a little bit more, bringing it towards you. So the leg doesn't have to be super straight, okay? Just go to where you feel the stretch. Then flex your foot as well, add that extra dimension to it. Good, breathe into it. As you exhale, it might come a little bit closer. Lovely, and then bend at the knee, bring the other knee in, so both knees are into the chest. If we hold behind the back of the thighs, we can start rocking and rolling forward and back. This is a really nice massage out of the spine. And then we'll come up into a seated position. So if you come to seated for me, let's extend the legs out in front of us. You might want to just move the fleshy part of your bottom out of the way, so we're on the front of the sitting bones. Starting off, if we can, with straight legs. Take an inhale and reach your arms up to the ceiling, and then as you exhale, I want you to reach forward. Now, we're not trying to get the forehead to the shins. It's more about pushing your chest forward. So reach for either the toes or maybe just the shins or the knees if the legs are super tight. But pull the toes towards your face. The heels might lift off the floor as well. And you should feel a nice stretch coming through the back of the legs. Lovely. With each breath, inhale, think about really growing tall through the spine. As you exhale, we're going a little bit closer, pushing our chest towards our big toes rather than taking the head down. As soon as we drop the head, we take the stretch into the lower back. We want to be in the hamstrings. So keep pushing the chest forward. Work with the breath. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, go a little bit deeper if you can. Good. One more time. Let's go for that stretch. And then come back up to seated. Let's bring the feet underneath so we can roll into a tabletop position. So we're now on our hands and knees. So make sure that your hands are underneath your shoulders. Just get rid of that. So hands are underneath your shoulders and your knees are directly underneath our hips. Spread the fingers out nice and wide. We'll just take a few rounds of cat-cow. So as you inhale, I want you to lift your head and tilt your tailbone back. And then exhale, round the spine and bring your chin to your chest. Good. So keep going with this, with your breath. This is a great movement to connect to breath, to the length of your breath. Yoga is all about uniting the mind, the body, the breath. So as you move, use your breath to guide you through those movements. Okay, one more. And let's release back into a neutral spine. So nice flat back. Make sure the core is engaged. Let's tuck the toes under. If you bring your hands back towards your knees, we're going to lift up into a ragdoll position at the back of the mat. So a forward fold. So the feet are about hip distance apart. Let the bend, let the knees be soft and just hang over your legs, taking hold of opposite elbows, so that we can really lengthen all the way down the spine. We're trying to get the top of the head down towards the big toes. So we've worked on our hamstrings already. So hopefully this isn't too uncomfortable for you. But I want you to give your head a bit of a shake out so that the neck is long. Swaying often feels nice like this as well. Just really getting those hamstrings working, waking them up. Bring the hands onto the shins. Now lengthen the spine, lift the chest. So halfway lift. Exhale, I want you to fold again. Then roll up the spine slowly. So come up super slow. The last thing to come up is going to be the head. Once the head comes up, take your arms up and overhead. Touch your palms together, then bring them into prayer at heart center. So we should be in Tadasana at the back of the mat. So feet are about, they could be touching, they could be slightly apart, that's fine. But just stand nice and tall. Turn the palms to face forward. Roll the shoulders back and down away from each other. Take a breath in here. And exhale it. Inhale, let's take the arms up to the ceiling. Look up. Exhale, forward fold. Fold over your legs. Hands come onto the shins. Lift halfway. And then exhale, fold again, knees are soft. Now walk yourself forward towards a press up position, so high press up plank. And then lower your knees down and slowly bring your body to the mat. Lay yourself down onto your tummy, untuck the toes, hands are under the shoulders. Inhale, lift the chest. So we can put a bit of pressure into the hands. Just see how the lower back feels. Bring the chest down. Again, using body and movement and breath. So inhale lifts you up and exhale lowers you down. And again, inhale, lift you up and exhale lowers you down. Once more, we're going to come up and we're going to hold. So inhale, lift up and hold as high as feels comfortable. Keep those elbows tucked in nice and tight, the shoulders away from those ears, and just look forward. Now, can you turn and look over your right shoulder and see your feet behind you? Good, and then back through center. Can you turn and look the other shoulder? Good, and then bring it back to center. Come back onto your hands and knees. Push all the way back to child's pose. The big toes can touch at the back. The forehead can sink down to the floor. Take a breath in. As you exhale, push your bottom down towards your heels a bit more. And keep the arms extended forward. So really extend those fingertips. So walk them as far forward as you can. And then push your armpits down towards the floor. And you should feel a stretch through the back of the shoulders. Good. And then slowly come up. So we're in a kneeling position. If kneeling isn't great for your knees, you can always place a blanket or something or a jumper underneath your thighs. It just gives you a bit of, it helps on the knee joints. Okay, so from kneeling, I'll just turn myself around. Take your arms up towards the ceiling. Interlace the fingers, push them up and away. Then bring them in front of you and round your spine, so palms are facing. Inhale, let's take them up. Exhale, push away and round. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, push the arms away and round. Inhale, let's take the arm up. And then we're going to drop the left hand down to the floor, reach the right arm overhead to get into that side body stretch. So this hand can go as far away as feels comfortable, but keep your sitting bones on your heels. Extend the right fingertips all the way over. If you want, you can look up towards that top hand, see how it feels for the neck. And hopefully you can feel a stretch coming up through the side of the body here. Now try and push your right hip down towards the floor a little bit more, and it might intensify the stretch for you. Inhale, reach up. Let's take it up to the side. Right hand down, left arm over. Reach it up and over. Good. So take the hand as far away as feels comfortable, but bottom on the heels. Extend the left fingertips over. Look towards them if you wish. Now push that left hip away and down, and you should really get into that side body stretch. Lovely. Bring yourself back up to center. Interlace your fingers behind your back, so stay in that kneeling position. Lift and open up through the chest. So squeeze the hands together, open the chest, let the head go back. And as you exhale, we're going to come down into child's pose. The forehead comes to the floor, and we're going to bring the arms up as much as we can to really open up through the shoulders. Lovely. Okay, let's do that once more with the breath. So inhale, lift the chest. Now reach as if you're trying to get your fingertips, your knuckles, down to the floor behind you. Push and lift the chest to the ceiling. Head goes back if it's all right on the neck. And then exhale, slowly bring the forehead down to the floor and bring that yoga lock up towards the ceiling, maybe further over if it's all right for your shoulders. Just breathe into the stretch through the shoulders. And carefully come back into that kneeling position. Release the arms. Give your shoulders a bit of a shrug and a shake out. Release them off. Well done. Now back into your tabletop. Just make sure your knees have got a gap between them and they're underneath your hips. Let's extend the right arm towards the ceiling. Right arm reaches up and then sweep the right arm, so thread the needle, so sweep it behind the left and bring the shoulder and the side of the head down towards the floor. So this left hand can just stay here in front of your face, or you can walk it forward towards the top edge of the mat, coming up onto your fingertips. So this is a stretch out for the shoulders. Okay, stay here, or you can extend that left leg out to the side. Good. So we're just holding it there. If we've taken the leg out to the side, you should feel a nice stretch through the inner thigh at the same time. So take another breath. And then bring the hand back underneath the shoulders. We're going to push our hands up into our tabletop position. So we've still got that left leg out to the side. Now, if you flex your foot and lift the leg up, so we should start activating into the core, then take it behind towards the back of the mat. Then we're going to bring the leg out to the side and then take it back. This is when my hips start clicking. So take the leg out to the side, try and get it parallel to the floor, take it out. So we're aiming for like a 90-degree angle. Once more, take it out. Take it all the way back and then release it down to the floor. Well done. Should we do the other side? So we're lifting up with the left arm, open the chest, thread the needle, so bring it behind the right, shoulder and side of the head come down to the floor. I'm just going to turn myself around. So once you are in your thread the needle, the right hand can stay there, or we can extend and walk it towards the top edge of the mat. Being on your fingertips is quite nice as well. So you should be looking underneath the right arm. And then extend that right leg out to the side. So hopefully on like a 90-degree angle, so it's level with the hip. Okay. And if you kind of roll onto your left shoulder a little bit more, it'll give you a nice stretch out through the shoulder. So maybe you can work on moving that right shoulder blade back a bit more. So pulling the right shoulder back, and you'll get more of a stretch into the left side. Good. Okay, let's bring the right hand back underneath next to the face and push ourselves up into our tabletop. So the right leg is still extended out to the side. So engage your core muscles. We're lifting that leg up to parallel with the mat, then extend it out behind. So bring it out to the side and then back to center and out to the side. Lovely. Back to center. Let's get everything working. Taking it all the way out. Hold it there. Take it back. Bring the knee down onto the floor. Well done. Tuck your toes. Let's go straight into downward facing dog. So lift the knees, push the hips high and move into your downward facing for me. So the hands are shoulder distance, the feet are hip distance. You have a little pedal out of the legs. Nice and slowly, just moving the heels towards the mat. Make sure that head is hanging heavy. Look forward. Let's walk or step our feet up to the top. Halfway lift to lengthen and then fold. Roll up the spine, nice and steady, all the way up. Reach up. Whoop. Bring the hands into prayer at heart center. Take an inhale and exhale it out. Well done. Inhale, take the arms up. Exhale into forward fold. Halfway lift. Let's step back with the right foot. So right foot steps back, right knee comes down to the floor. Come up and into your low lunge, so arms to the ceiling. Or arms to hips, it's up to you. I want you to tuck the tailbone and then sink into the hip, rather than just collapsing. So tuck the tailbone under and then let the hips sink forward. So arms are reaching to the ceiling, shoulders are relaxed, gaze is steady and forward. Breathe in on the inhale, grow taller. And as you exhale, see if you can get into that hip flexor stretch a little bit more. Lovely. Just keep working with the breath. Releasing the shoulders. Imagine the shoulder blades melting down your back. One more breath like this. Release the hands down as you exhale. Frame that front foot. Push down with the right hand. Let's take the left arm to the ceiling. Now look towards that top hand. And extend the fingertips up as high as you can, trying to get your arms vertical. Good. So we still sinking into that hip. So you should feel a stretch coming through the buttock here and through the hip flexor on the other leg. Keep looking towards that top hand. Now pull the left shoulder back a little bit more if you can. Wonderful. Release the hand down, frame the foot, step back, downward facing dog. So tuck the back toe, Step back, push back, downward facing. Lift the right leg up into the air. Lift it up nice and high, keep the hips square if you can. Step that foot forward. So stepping it between the hands. Double step if we need to. Bring the back knee down. So now we should be left knee down. Come up into your low lunge on the other side. So you can stay with hands on hips if you prefer. So tuck in at the tailbone, then sink into the hip. So hands can stay here or we can extend them up. It's up to you. But just a nice steady gaze forward. Shoulders are relaxed. Shoulder blades are nipping together in the center of the back. Try not to allow the belly to balloon, so keep the core nicely engaged. And use the exhale to work into the left hip flexor. Lovely. Good, let's take another breath and sink a touch deeper if we can. And then a full inhale. Exhale, release the hands down to frame that front foot. Push down into the left hand. Let's take the right arm up into our twisted half lunge. Fingertips to the ceiling, look towards the hand. Push the floor away with your left hand here. So nice and strong, push it away. Good. So keep the hips sinking. You might feel a stretch through the right buttock as well. Now move that right shoulder back a little more, as if we're trying to turn the right collarbone up towards the ceiling as well. And then carefully, I want you to release the hand down to the floor. Step back into downward facing dog. So step back, push back, come forward into a plank. Lower down your knees, your chin and chest. Lay yourself down completely onto the mat. Bring the hands back so that they're level with the low ribs. Push into the hands, come into your cobra. Go as high as this feels comfortable, look forward. Exhale, lower the chest down. Inhale, lift the chest up. And exhale, lower. Once more, let's lift up and hold. So lift up and hold. If you want to work stronger, push into the top of the feet. Can we get the thighs off the floor as well? Into our upward facing dog. Either look forward or start looking up towards the ceiling. Just protect the back, keep your core engaged. Then let's lift the hips and move our way back into a downward facing dog. From downward facing, walking or stepping our feet up to the top, hands onto the shins, halfway lift, and then fold. Knees are soft, fold over your legs, roll up the spine, slowly coming up, arms up. Oops. Bring your hands into prayer at heart center. Awesome. The joys of teaching from home. You keep banging your arms into everything. All right, well done. So we'll take a balance with tree posture. So start by taking the weight into your left foot. Spread out all of those left toes. Bring your right knee up and into your chest. Excuse me. Flexing the foot. Just get that balance to begin with. Lovely. Slowly lower that foot down, but just hover it off the floor. And then inhale, let's take it out to the side. Oops. And then lower it down, just to hover. Bring it back to center. And then down. And then out to the side. Just get the hip nicely warmed up, back to center, lift up. Lovely. Take it out to the side. This time we'll go for tree. So take it out, maybe take hold and pop the foot onto the inner thigh. You can go for below the knee if that feels better. Hands into prayer at heart center. Push the thumbs into the center of your sternum so that we make a nice horizontal line with our arms. And stay here nice and strong, or you can extend your prayer, whichever one feels better. My balance isn't great tonight, so I'm going to stay here. If you equally push the foot and the leg into each other, it should stay put. But this is also an option if you want to take it below the knee. If balance really isn't your friend, then just crossing the foot one on top of the other also does the same thing. So choose your balance. Take another breath, make sure those shoulders aren't creeping up towards the ears. Well done. On your next inhale, I want you to lift that knee out to the side again. Bring it down, hover. Inhale, lift it to center. Exhale, step it back half a mat's distance, just half a mat's distance. So we're not in a long stance. Feet are on train tracks, okay? So we're not in one straight line, the feet are staggered. Take the hands behind the back and interlace them. Make a little yoga lock, so interlace them. If you can squeeze your palms together, that would be good. Lift the chest on the inhale. Engage your core and then hinge from the hip crease, bringing your left chest onto your left thigh. The arms are going to come up and overhead. We're looking in front of that big toe. Look in front of the big toe. So we're not bringing the head down. We're looking and extending the spine and the neck forward. Good. Now push that left hip back as far as you can. And again, we should be feeling it into this hamstring here. Legs are straight if possible. The shorter the stance, the easier this is for the legs, by the way. Good. Use your breath to take yourself down a little bit more. Forehead towards big toe. Lovely. Now release your hands to the floor. Bend into this front knee. We're just going to kick that right leg up into the air. So hand on the floor, kick the right leg up, and then step your feet together at the top of the mat. Halfway lift, hands on the shins. Exhale, fold. Well done. Come up on the inhale, nice and slowly. So we should be feeling it in the back of the legs, in the bottom area. Hands to prayer heart center. Let's do the other side. Let's even you out. Okay, so weight into the right foot, spread out those right toes. You can start with the hands onto the hips. And then let's bring the left knee up and into the chest. Just hold it for a moment, shoulders are soft. Hold it there. So we're going to start by working on opening the hip. So lower to hover, take it out to the side. Ooh, hips are popping. Bring it back down and then again to center. Hover out to the side. Good. Ooh. Into center. And lower out to the side. Let's do one more of each. So up to center. Good. And then out to the side. Let's take hold of the foot now and take your tree. Remember, above or below the knee joint, or crossing the foot, hands in prayer heart center, pushing the thumbs into the sternum. So the arms are horizontal, or if you want to take your arms up, you can just keep the shoulders nice and relaxed. I'm going to stay here today. So foot and leg equally pressing into each other. Get that knee out to the side, really open up into the hip. Steady gaze forward. We call our gaze point our drishti in yoga. So it's a point that we focus on to help us with our balance. My children prefer to stick their tongue out. Apparently that helps too. So if you are at home with your video off, you can try that. Stick your tongue out. Or you can hold your ear. That's another trick to help with balance. Just hold it for another couple of breaths. Fabulous. And then we're going to take the knee out, so lift it up, down to hover, to center, step it half a mat's distance back, half a mat's distance, yeah? Train track those feet, take your hands behind, interlace. Now put the other forefinger on top this time, so you always interlace your hands the same way. Change it, put your other forefinger on top, it'll feel a bit weird. Okay, now squeeze the shoulder blades together, lift the chest. As you exhale, start hinging at the hip crease. Bring the right chest down towards the right thigh. Looking, reaching in front of that big toe. Now shove your right hip back. Shove it back. Shove your right hip back as you extend your forehead down towards the big toe. And feel that lovely stretch through the hamstring. And with each exhale, we might be able to take it a little bit deeper. Those arms can come up and over the head. So you get a lovely stretch through the shoulders as well. But keep extending the spine all the way. The full length of the spine and the neck and up through the crown of the head. Extend that line. Push the right hip back. Lovely. Release your hands down. Bring them to the top of the mat. Bend into the right knee. Lift that left leg up as high as you can. As high as you can. And then step both feet together at the top of the mat. Bring the hands onto the shins, halfway lift. Exhale, soften the knees, forward fold. Roll up the spine slowly to stand all the way up. Arms reach up and above the head. And exhale, hands come into prayer at heart center. Brilliant, well done. Okay, I want you to turn so that you are sideways on your mat so that you can see. We're going to take a wide legs position. So only go as wide as is comfortable for you. You can always use blocks or books or things if you can't quite reach the floor when we get to that stage. You can always push the feet out a little bit more, but if you look at the side edges of the feet, you want them to be parallel with the edges of the mat. So we're not duck feet and we're not pigeon-toed, okay? The feet are parallel with the side edges of the mat. Start off with the hands on the hips. As you inhale, lift the chest. As you exhale, hinge at the hip crease again and slowly fold. Just go to where feels comfortable for you. And then you might be able to bring your hands down to the floor. And this is where, as I said, you can use blocks or books or maybe a cushion or something. Just if I had a block, then it just brings the floor a little bit closer towards you if you need to. And then if you want to take those feet a little wider, that might work. So choose what feels good. I just want you to take some breaths in this position, maybe move the hips, have a little bend, one knee then the other, see how it feels. See if one side feels a little tighter than the other. Just moving the hips. Then we're going to take both of the hands over towards the left foot. So see if you can get hold of your left ankle. If you can't, just reach towards the left foot. And then just, if you can fold down towards that leg, take a breath or two at that side. Then we're going to walk the hands all the way over towards the right ankle. Maybe get hold of it. Bring the chest down towards the leg. Remember, we can always just have the hands on the floor in that general direction if we can't quite reach. And then bring the hands carefully back to center. As you inhale, really lengthen the spine. Now take the weight into the balls of your feet. As you exhale, walk your hands back so that they are either level with the feet or you can walk them off the back of your mat and start pulling yourself through. So if you try to pull your chest through your legs. So from the side, we're reaching the arms back and starting to pull ourselves through. But it's important here to take the weight. So if I take my weight back, look what happens to my hips. If I take my weight forward, my hips go higher and the weight is in the balls of my feet. Okay? So find the position that feels right and breathe there. Very important. Keep that breath flowing. If you can do that Ujjayi breath here, that would be amazing. So that restriction through the breath, through the back of the throat. I don't know if you can hear me doing it through the microphone. It's a little bit like Darth Vader. If you exaggerate it, it's definitely like a bit like Darth Vader breath. All right, slowly walk your hands back underneath your shoulders. We're going to take ourselves towards our left foot again, but I want you to turn your left foot out onto a diagonal, then bend into the left knee as much as feels comfortable. So hands are on the floor. If you can take it all the way down, we're going to then turn the right toes up towards the ceiling. And we get a lovely stretch coming into the inner thigh here. If that's too much, we can stay here. We don't have to go all the way down. All right? But see how deep you want to go on this side and just sit into it. You can either hold on to the floor or you can bring your hands into prayer. This knee, we're trying to push it out to the side as well. Just take a breath or two on this side. I'm going to walk over to the other side, so bring your hands down, walk over, then turn the right toes out and start sinking the hips down. Remember, you can stay here if this feels enough, or we can start taking the bottom down and turning the left toes up. You're trying to keep the heel down on the mat if possible, all right, but it might not stay down just yet. Okay, see how it feels. This is a really good stretch for anybody who wears heels. I gave up heels quite a few years ago, so but it's really good for just stretching out the back of the ankle and just releasing off the back of the leg like that. So push the knee out, either hold the floor or hands can come into prayer. Adds a little extra bit of instability to the posture. And then slowly bring it back to center. Come back to your central position, bring your hands onto your hips, slowly come back up to standing. Just take a moment there, and then let's walk the feet back together and turn back up to the top of the mat. So return into that standing position at the top. Inhale, the arms go up. Exhale, we're going to fold. Lift the chest and lengthen, step back to plank. Lower the knees down and then bring yourself to lay down completely. So lay yourself down, untuck the toes, hands are underneath the shoulders or the low ribs, pushing and lifting up into a back bend. Knees stay on the mat as we sit back into a child's pose. Lovely, well done. Just take a few breaths here. You can let the elbows drop down onto the floor if that feels nice. Just a couple of breaths. And then we're going to finish off with a little back bend. So we did the bridge, the lift and lower at the beginning. So we're going to do camel posture now. So we're starting in a kneeling position. I want you to have like a fist's distance between your knees. Okay, so fist's distance between the knees. And then the toes tuck under. All right, so we want to have a nice strong core for this. So from the pelvic floor, zip up. From the pelvic floor, zip up towards your navel area and keep that area nicely engaged. Bring your hands onto the base of the spine, fingertips, as if you're putting your hands into your back pockets. Squeeze your elbows together so the chest opens. And then start pushing the hips forward as we start lifting the chest. So it's not about collapsing back. All right, it's about lifting the chest up to the ceiling as the hips push forward. Hips stay over knees at all times. And just breathe into the chest space. Head can go back. The hands might be able to get hold of those heels. Don't worry if they don't. If they don't, keep the hands on the base of the spine. And then we can let the head go back fully if we're not talking and if it feels all right. And this is your camel posture, but we have got a strong core and the heart space is lifting to the ceiling. We're not collapsing into our lower back. As you exhale, lift the head, slowly come up, untuck the toes and just sit and settle through the spine, okay? So allow everything to settle. We're going to do it again. If you want to go deeper, don't tuck your toes under. If the lower back's not great, keep your hands on the back at all time. It's really important to have a strong core to keep everything engaged because that will help to protect your back. So let's do another one. So coming up, we've got that fist distance between our knees, the toes, tucked or untucked, your choice. Hands, lower back, zip up, pelvic floor, all the way to your navel. Squeeze the shoulder blades, squeeze those elbows together, lift the chest. Breathe into the chest, lift it to the ceiling as you push your hips forward, hips over knees and go back. You might want to do the hands onto heels thing again. You might want to let the head go back, or you just stay here with your hands in your back pockets and you push your hips forward and lift your chest to the ceiling. Just breathe into the chest space. It's a wonderful heart opener, this one. It can feel uncomfortable. It can make you feel a little bit nauseous. So just be careful with it. Keep the breath flowing. And then exhale, very carefully come up, untuck the toes and sit. Just think I'm really selling it to you, aren't I? Yeah, you can feel sick. But it is a really lovely stretch for opening up the chest, and especially if you've been sat over a computer or a desk, etc., we tend to round. So any heart opening, so the bridge that we did at the beginning and camel posture, really good for just really opening up the shoulder area to release. Okay, brilliant, well done. So final, before we go to the floor, completely to the floor, take your feet a little wider so the knees can stay as they are with that fist's distance between them. Take the feet a little wider. You may want to grab something to sit on. So if you're like me and you've got big calf muscles, we just want to kind of move them out of the way and then sit down. So you want your bottom in between your heels. All right, so if you want, you can pop something under your bum, like a cushion or a sweater or a blanket or something, or a block. Or if it feels okay for you, you can come down onto the mat. But move your calf muscles out of the way. Heels are next to our bum. We're going to bring the hands behind us with our fingertips pointing forwards. Now, the point about this one is to keep the knees down. So once the knees start lifting, you've gone far enough, all right? So if you've got super tight quads, so thigh muscles, that you might find that the knees lift. So just stay with the first stage. So hands behind you, fingertips pointing forward. We're just going to push into the hands and lift the hips up. So if you started with your bottom on a block or a jumper, just get some air underneath your bum. Lift the hips as high as you can. You should feel a stretch coming through the front of the body. Again, we can let the head drop back if it feels okay, or you can just keep your head in a neutral position. So just pushing and lifting the hips. So we feel the stretch down the front of the legs, and exhale, bring the bottom down. All right, I'm going to give you one more option. If you want to go deeper, bring your elbows to the floor. So the hands are kind of resting on your feet. If your knees lift, go back to the hands on the mat. Go back to the first one. Same thing, all right? Push and lift the hips up. So get some air underneath your bottom. Head can go back if you want to. And just breathe here. Again, we're raising the chest up towards the ceiling. We're pushing the hips, knees are staying down. Feel the stretch down the front of the legs especially. Exhale, carefully bring your bottom back down. If you're on your forearm, on your elbows, lift yourself back up onto your hands. And then I want you to come forward into your tabletop, hands and knees. Just give the legs a little bash out or move the hips. Just see how that feels. In fact, let's take some circular movement. So hands and knees, just rotate the hips. Circle the hips one way and then the other way. Amazing. Push your bottom all the way back onto the heels. Bring your forehead to the floor, and then let's take the arms back so that the hands are face up, palms facing up next to our feet. And the shoulders can just soften and relax onto our knees. You can roll the forehead from side to side just to smooth it out. Oh, well done. Nice big inhale and exhale here. Fabulous. And then let's come into a seated position. So if you want to come onto your bottom. So coming into seated. So we've done quite an intense back bend is camel, so we just need to release that out. So with the feet about hip distance apart, you don't want the legs super straight. We want to be able to sweep the arms or scoop the arms underneath the legs and get hold of opposite elbows. And then, so you can see my spine is rounding. Let your forehead just drop onto your knees. So your legs might be up a bit, your legs might be up here, remember like this, or they could be further away, but you want your chest attached to your thighs and your forehead just dropping onto your knees. And then breathe into your back ribs. Just really notice how the back of the body's feeling after those back bends. And just release any tension that's in there. Releasing and letting go. Brill, well done. And then slowly, let's roll ourselves down onto our backs. So a bit like we started, we're going to bring the knees into the chest, give ourselves a little squeeze in. So knees to chest, then arms can go out into a crucifix. We're going to take the knees over to the left side. Turn your head towards the right. You can use that left hand to pull that right knee further over if you want to make it a little bit harder, or a little bit, not harder, but a deeper stretch. So you can pull the right leg further over, but keep your shoulders down on the mat and look in the opposite direction to where your knees are. Breathe into the twist. Really try and ground that right shoulder blade. And if you focus your breath into your abdomen, this is really good detoxification posture, especially good after eating, so to get the digestive system going. Okay, we're going to carefully release and come back to center. And then let's take that to the other side. So dropping your knees down to the right. Remember, you can use that right hand to pull that left leg further over to intensify the stretch, pushing and planting both of your shoulders into the mat, turning and looking the head in the opposite direction. Again, let's focus the breath into the abdomen. Let the shoulders drop onto the mat, that left shoulder especially. Try and ground it down. Making sure that the facial muscles are relaxed. But we haven't brought tension into the jaw. It's nice and soft. Nice. And then bring it back to center. Bring it back in. Give those knees one final hug before relaxing into your Shavasana. So as we did at the beginning, either the legs can be extended, your feet want to be like mat distance or a little more further apart, the arms either by your side or onto the belly. If the lower back isn't great, then soften the knees, bend the knees, feet on the floor, and let the knees knock together. You can always pop a blanket or cushion underneath your knees to support your lower back in Shavasana. It's quite nice to put a blanket on as well if you want that little bit of extra warmth. But just find that position that you can stay in for the next minute or so, just to take your relaxation. Let your breath return to its own rhythm. Maybe do a few cleansing breaths where we breathe in through the nose and sigh out through the mouth, just to get rid of any stagnant energy that's remaining within the body. If there's any areas that are feeling tight or tense, focus your breath there. So really breathe into that area. Maybe the hips feel a bit sticky or the lower back. Focus your breath into those areas. And then as you exhale, visualize that stickiness being released as you exhale. It's also not just physically that we find tension, but we get a lot of mental tension as well. So you can visualize that being released as well with an exhale. So really focus your energy, your breath into your headspace. And as you exhale, just visualize all of those worries and thoughts and stresses just releasing and leaving your mind. So wherever that tension needs to be released from, use your exhale. Inhaling in relaxation. Exhaling out tension. Do a quick scan, notice the forehead, is it smooth? Is the jaw unclenched? Is the tongue soft within the mouth? Are the shoulders free from tension? Work down your arms, all the way to your hands, to your fingers. Are they relaxed? Just soften and let go. Work through the shoulders, the abdomen, the chest. The mid-back, the lower back. Into the hips. Soften and release, let it go. Working down the buttocks, the legs. Into your feet, your ankles, your toes. Release anything you're holding on to. And then to the mind. Any thoughts that aren't relevant to this moment in time, let them go. They will find their way back to you if they need to. So just be still in this moment. And notice how it feels. This mental and physical calm, this stillness. But notice how it really feels. Notice your breath. Has it changed? Has it returned to its resting rhythm? When you're ready, slow movements with your fingers, your toes. Just really super small ones to begin with. Take it gentle, take it slow. And then I want you to move out of your relaxation in a way that feels good to you, whether that is to take a stretch or bring yourself into a nice tight ball, give yourself a hug. Or if you want to stay in Shavasana, if you've got nothing else to do, I would totally recommend staying as you are for as long as you wish. If you are coming out of your relaxation to seal our practice together, then move slowly, be gentle, be kind, maybe roll onto your right side before coming up into a seated position where we will meet. Bring your hands into prayer at heart center when you're ready. Sit with a tall spine and relaxed shoulders. Take a nice long inhale through the nostrils. Open the mouth and sigh it out. Remember your focus, your intention for practice. Bring the tips of your fingers onto your third eye. Just bow the head down slightly so we contact fingers to third eye. Take another inhale. And exhale it out. Give thanks to everyone who has shared this space with you today. It has been my absolute pleasure to guide you. Namaste.